Hello and welcome to our channel. We will be discussing today about 9/11, its relation with the Tree of Life. Some of you, maybe most of you, haven't heard about the Tree of Life before, but we will be discussing more in details what it is and from where it came, the symbol, and how it can help us to prove that what happened in 9/11 was nothing but a sacrifice ritual. But not only that, we will show using the dates, this opening ceremony of the Twin Towers back in 1973, and then the demolition in 2001, and then the final opening of the One World Trade Center in 2015, how it's all correlate with the Tree of Life again, and how actually the One World Trade Center design was based also on the Tree of Life. So basically the Tree of Life will give us a proof that the timeline of the opening of the Twin Towers, then the destruction, and then the reopening of the One World Trade Center is based on the Tree of Life. And also the Tree of Life also will show us how it was a sacrifice ritual, what happened in 9/11. And then the third thing, it will show us how the actually One World Trade Center was based also as a design on the Tree of Life. Stick to us. This is first time ever information to be come to public, as we just discovered recently. We will start first with what happened in 9/11. 9/11, there was 4 airplanes, but 3 of them hit their target. So we will be focusing on those 3 airplanes that actually hit the target. The 4th is of an importance, but we will discuss it later in another video if we have enough time. Let's talk first about the 3 crashing sites, the WTC, WTC-1, and the Pentagon. They were hit by 3 airplanes. On each airplane, you had a certain number of hijackers, the crew and passenger, but as in total, you had 65, 92, 64 passengers. What this has to do with the Tree of Life? If we look, before we explain what is the Tree of Life and from where it came, just stick for a while with me until I will give you the full explanation. You have 65 on the airplane flight number 175. If you look at the Tree of Life in here, come zoom in here, you have like 3 pillars in this Tree of Life. Each pillar, it consists of 5 circles, or what we call it separates. So if we sum the first circles of the first column, how much we get? 2, 16, 18, 8, 21. That's the red dotted. How much it equate? Equate to 65. So let's go to the other column. The other column in the purple. You have 2, 24, 26, 21, 19. How much it equate? It equate to 92. That's the same number of the people who were on the flight number 11. They were 92 passengers. What a coincidence, isn't it? Now let's move to the third column, the green one. How much we have? 2, 15, 13, 13, 21. It equates to what? 64. That's the same amount of passengers there were on the 3rd airplane that hit the Pentagon. Is that a coincidence? It's not. You have 5 hijackers in each airplane, where we have actually in the Tree of Life, each column has 5 circles, and then each airplane had the total amount of passengers that equate to one of these pillars. And then you will understand it was not a coincidence when you understand that actually everything in this Tree of Life is actually not came from random kind of placing of those numbers. So for example, you have 13 plus 13, it will equate to 26. 18 plus 8 equate to again 26. So you have them connected. Then here you have 13 plus 8 equal 21. When you look up to the left side, you have 13 plus 2 equate to 15. To the right up side of the tree of life, you have 18 plus 2 equal 18 minus 2 equals 16. So, and then you have 26 minus 2 equal 24. So it's all, they have a bond between each other, a connection and an equation. So they are not a random number. Not only that, the flight number 175 that hit the WTC-2, which had 65 passengers. If we look here, you have an airplane that had 65 passengers on board, hit a tower that is 110 floors. 65 plus 110 equal to what? 275. It was hit by what? By a flight number what? 175. Is that a coincidence again? This is the first coincidence it would be, which is not. Not only that, 175 has a very major importance. We talked about the tree of life, that it has 3 pillars, right? But if you look at it as a whole, you have in it 10 circles. If you sum the total of all those circles, it gives you what? It gives you 175. So you have an airplane flight number which was 175, which is equate to the total amount of circles in the tree of life, which is also 175. And then you have each pillar from this tree of life having the same number of passengers that each airplane hit its target, 64, 92, 65. Now, you start to understand that this could be the 6th coincidence, if some would want to call it, which by now I refuted big time, but this is not all. We are just starting to reveal the real deal of what really happened in 9/11 and all about the Twin Towers and the reconstruction of the new One World Trade Center. I here need to mention one last information, that actually the 175 airplane that hit its target, when it demolished the WTC-2, it demolished it in what? In 10 seconds. You have this Sephiroth having 11 circles, but this 24, why I marked it as black? Because this is a hidden circle. How many it will be left? 10 circles. So you have an airplane flight number 175, which equate to the tree of life that have 10 Sephiroths, crash it in what? 10 seconds. Now, before we move on to the other part of this information that I'm sharing with you right now, I want to tell you that the tree of life, basically, now that I got your attention about what is the tree of life, it's basically represents a sacred geometry, a sacred symbol that God has given us since the early times of humanity, from the time of Adam until now. But throughout the history, some people, they kept it hidden for themselves, but instead of using the good side of it, they use it for their satanic rituals. As what always Lucifer commanded them to use any God-given knowledge in its reverse to make a gain, to give him a gain, earthly gain, while actually they are losing their souls in this life and in the afterlife. So basically, the tree of life is a representation of the creation of the universe. It's expanding and also representing the autonomy of the human body. I will explain later on more about it. Now, let's go to the other part of this. We talked about the dates. It has its own symbology and relation with the tree of life. I will explain more in detail what you see in here in the other side of the picture here in the purple, but don't get confused as yet. But I will tell you what I will be showing you later on in details. Let's go to the dates. You have the opening ceremony of the Twin Tower. It was 1973. If you sum the numbers individually, each digit, it gets you 28. If you sum 28 plus 1973, the opening, it gets you what? 2001. That's the date when it was supposed to be demolished. 9/11/2001. Now let's do the same thing. We are not playing game. The same thing. Sum all the digits. How much you get? 14. 14 plus 2001, what it will give you? It will give you 2015. 2015, that's the final opening date of the observatory in the One World Trade Center. Not only that, if you sum again the digits of this together, how much it gives you? 23. So the full date of the final opening is actually also related again to the date of the first opening of the Twin Tower and the demolition. When you sum 197321, it also gave you 23. Is that a coincidence? Well, we have plenty of coincidence so far, huh? It's not, because it's already pre-planned. At the time of the opening of the Twin Tower, it was planned to be demolished in 2001 and then the other one to be built. And we will tell you why it was done like that, what it symbolizes, what all there is that is not yet to be revealed, that's yet to be revealed. What you will see later on as well in this presentation is that not only these dates, the opening dates, has to do with the other major event that the Twin Tower or the site has witnessed, but it also has to do also these numbers 28, 28, 14, 14, 23, 23. It also has to do with the design of the One World Trade Center that was built after 9/11, where you will see it will give you, through the symbology of the Tree of Life, the actual stories in One World Trade Center, and then the 100th floor, which is a number that it was placed on the 94th floor. So you have the One World Trade Center, actually it has 94 floors, but somehow, for some reason, they made the One World Trade Center of a height of 104 floors. Not only that, on the 94th floor, you will see the label, the sticker on the floor as what? 104. And now you will understand why more in details as we go through in this video. But I want to show you that even the dates, the main dates, 3 dates, the 28, 14, and 23 that we take from the dates, it's also related to what? The actually design of the new One World Trade Center. And to further tell you more about what you will see later on in this video, as we will explain from where all this came about, we will show you that actually even the number of the useful floor areas, which is 86 in the One World Trade Center, and the 78 of which are offices in these numbers are also related to what? To the Tree of Life. In which sense? That actually the box in here equates to 86, and the box in here, it equates to what? 78. And from this box, the 78, of which are their offices, you will get the 94 actual floors, and from the other box, which is 86, the useful floor areas above ground, you will get the 104, the announced official floor numbers in One World Trade Center, which is actually false. It is 94, but it's as tall as 104. And you will understand why all of that. So now that I told you what you will be seeing, I hope that you stick with me to understand from where all those came. We will go back to the Tree of Life. I told you I will give you more explanation about what is it. The Tree of Life, basically, it represents of the universe, the creation and the expansion of the universe, as you see in the left picture, and it represents the human body and soul, and even the body, human autonomy in the right side. Now, as we tackle first the Tree of Life as the representation of the universe, there is a number that I need you to focus on, which I explained about it in the previous video. If you go to my previous video, you will learn more about it in the decoding of the Tree of Life. You will see a box that is equate here to 78. Remember the offices, number of offices and floors in the One World Trade Center? Yes, 78. So 78, this is like a lock. You have a lock in this tree. And if you unlock it, you get to a key. And that key actually, if you remove this part, the orange one, you will be left out with these 5 circles: 2, 15, 16, 21, 19. That is equal to what? 73. And 73 actually, according to the European Space Agency, in their announcement, they said the scientists has find the key to the universe in the number 73. If you want to know more about it, you can go to my previous video where I spoke about what is the 73 and how it's related to the expansion of the universe. So basically, in this article, the European Space Agency talking about that they found the number 73 as the key to the universe. Basically, it's representing the speed by which the universe is expanding. But what I want you to focus on is that the lock, it's what? 78. Now, when we move now to the Tree of Life as the representation of what? Of the human autonomy. Okay? So, if we consider that we are on Earth, where we are on Earth in this Tree of Life is actually in the Sephiroth 19, in the lower circle in the Tree of Life. And so, as a soul, if you want to go up in heaven to meet with God, you have to go up in level from 19 to 21 to 26 to 28. Look at the middle of the Tree of Life. So God in Abjad, it's equates to 42. The God has a number, it's referred to as 42. This is in Islam and in Kabbalah, the same thing. It's 42. So, if you are in the lower Sephiroth circle in Earth and you want to go up, then every circle, it has to change into what? 42. So, to change 19 to 42, you have to add 23. And then the same for all the other ones, 21, 16, 18. For 26 to change to 42, you have to add 16. If you want to change for 24, it has to change to you have to add 18 to become 42. And so it's like you are opening kind of a highway, you know, that is 42 to meet with God. And I will explain to you why we stopped at 24. But I want you to focus on with one thing. Remember the log, it's equal 78. Look, if you want to change all those middle circles into 42, if you sum 23, 21, 16, 18, how much it will equate? It's equate to 78. That is the lock in the tree of life for what? For as the representation of the human body. That is the lock, and that is the key, which is about making it 42. Now, what is the importance of 42? Look at it right now here. Look at the boxes, the green and the red. So basically, when you 26 become 42, you added what? 16. Now sum 42 plus 13 plus 13 plus 18 plus 8. It equates to what? It will give you 94. 94, that's the actual stories in the One World Trade Center, and that's from where 94 came. And when you go up one level, we change 24 into what? 42. Now there you will reach to meet with God at this level in the red box, and when you sum them, it will give you what? 104. 94, it is what? The actual stories. 104, it's in the spiritual, where you meet God. It's the unseen, and I will give you the more explanation later what is this all about. So when I look at here, you can see that I am talking about reaching to the Sephiroth, which is 24. What? And then someone will tell me why you stopped at 24. I will give you the explanation why I stopped at 24. In my previous video, again, if you want to know more details, you can go to it. I decoded the Ark of the Covenant and the pillars that holding the skies. In that video, I spoke about how actually the concept of so above, so below. Some of us, maybe we heard about it. Basically, in short, I will tell you that 24, which is called the image of God or representation of God, it is reverse, it is 42. That's in the above. So 24, when you reverse it, you get what? 42. And 24 is surrounded by 5 sephiroths equate to 64. That's the heaven in the below. In the above, it is 46, as you see from above. This is actually so below, so above, so below. It comes from what? That actually 64 plus 24 equate to 88. And then when you reverse 24, you get 42. And when you reverse 64, you get when you reverse 64, you get 46. And so when you sum 46 plus 42, it gets you what? 88. That's so above, so below. 24, 64, 42. 46, 88, it's give you 88. That's why you stop at the Sephiroth, or the circle, which we call the Sephiroth, 24, where you meet with your image, your God. Of course, this is just symbolized. God is beyond description. He doesn't look like anything of his creation, but it's just a way of communicating. But people give it the name of image of God, where actually it's not an image. It's more of a representation. 24, the human being. Now, someone will tell me, okay, you spoke about how you move up in heaven. 42, you have to make a channel, right? I spoke here about it. So now, can you give me another proof about how when you raise from earth, from below, from 19 all the way to 24, it's also still valid? I will tell you, yes, I can give you another proof. And even this proof will correlate the dates which we get, the 28, the 14, and 23, to what really has happened. So basically, if you are, as we said, you are on earth, you are in the Sephiroth 19, right? We are in the Sephiroth 19. And you want to go up. And you want to go up to meet with God. So you go one level by level. You say 19. You go up, you take it with you. 19 plus 21. Now you have 40. 40. You take it with you. You go one up, level up. You have 40 plus 26 equal what? 66. And then you go one level up. 66 plus 24, you get what? 90. These numbers, when you look at them, and you remember what we talked about earlier in the other slide, when you reach to 66 and you add 28, remember 28? 28 that comes from 4/4/1973. That's the opening date ceremony of what? Of the Twin Tower. When you add 66 plus 28, what did it give you? 94. That's the actual stories of the One World Trade Center. Again, I need to remind you. And when you go one level up, 90 plus 14, that's the dates from 9/11. 9/11/2001. When you sum all the digits, it gives you 14. That's what? 104. 104 is what? The stories of the One World Trade Center. The not actual, which still they used it. And I will give you later the explanation what it represents exactly. But I want you to see how actually raising up from earth all the way to meet with God, even with this method, which is an alternative method to the method that I gave you about the 42, it's even give you another proof about that you still get to the same result, 94 and 104, and even it's correlate with the dates of the demolition and the opening of the Twin Tower. Now the picture will get clearer for you as we move on, so don't be worried if you feel that a little bit you are confused. So here I'm providing you again the two methods that we actually spoke about. The first method where you are on earth, 19, and you want to go meet with God on the level of 24. You have to all of those separate has to be 42 as a way path to reach to God. And then when you reach to God, you get 104, and the one box before it, it's what? 94. And then when you use the other method of collecting the dots or the circles as you move up and correlate it with the dates of the opening of the Twin Tower, 28, and demolition, 14, you are still getting what? The 104, 104, 94, 94. And I need you to remind you again, and here we spoke about it because before, that actually the box, the green box, which is 94, in its original form, it's what? 78, as you can see in the blue line, 78. Now, 78 is what? The actual, the offices, number of floors that is occupied for what? The offices. And 86 is the useful area above ground, useful floor above ground. So you have even the design of the One World Trade Center is based on what? The Tree of Life. So you have all the numbers from the dates of the opening, the demolition, 28, 24, related to the number of actual stories and the labeled number on the 94th floor, which is 104, and also correlate with what? With the number of offices, floors that occupied by offices or intended for offices, 78, and it correlates with the useful floor area above ground, which is 86. You start to see the bigger picture. Now you will understand what is the importance of these boxes and what they really represent. And here you will start to understand what this is all about. One of the ancient Egyptian depicting of the resurrection of the Pharaoh, to be among gods according to the Egyptian belief system, they picture here a ship that is taking the Pharaoh up to the heaven to be among God. When you look at the tree of life, what do you see? You see a box in here. You see here a box, the green box to the left of the picture. That is the box on the tree of life to the right. And there is another box inside. I want to zoom in. There's another box inside that box, which is also the same thing in the tree of life. And then you have above it, you have a ship. You see the ship? This ship is called Baruch. In Arabic, it's Al-Buraq. Al-Buraq in Arabic, when you sum the letters of the Arabic for it, it's equate to what? Equate to 55. You see? 15, 24, 16, you have what? 55 that resemble the ship. And the box, it's 78. Remember the log, 78? And what you will be left out from the tree of life? Number 2, above, and 19 and 21. 19 is what I said, it's the earth, right? 21 is the first heaven of the earth, and 2 is the top of what? The tree of life, the source. And then when you sum 19, 21 plus 2, it will give you what? That is 42. That is what, so what you're having here is another way of depicting the resurrection of the Pharaoh all the way up from earth to what? To heaven. Using what? The Baruch, the ship, the solar Baruch they call it, that took him all the way to God. So now you start to see what's this all about, these boxes. This is a representation of someone's soul, yet we don't know who he was. In his honor, the Twin Tower were built, the Twin Tower were demolished as a sacrifice ritual, because that's exactly what the pharaohs used to do when they die. They used to sacrifice human along with them, so when they raise, and I quote here, the sky weeps, the stars shake. Just remember 9/11 when I'm saying this. The keepers of God tremble and their servant flee. Their servant flee from the destruction in 9/11. When they behold the king rising up as a spirit, as a God who live on his father's and obsession of his mother. I will continue it later on. I forgot to write it down. So basically here it talks about how the Pharaoh raised among the gods, according to the paganists, while their servant flee. 9/11. Let's continue. Here the final slide where all the picture will be clear to you. So as we said earlier, that actually the boxes representing what? The resurrection of a soul from earth all the way up to be among the gods after they're deceased. So the lower box, which gives you 94, is actually a box through it. Just think as a black hole, through it the soul of the Pharaoh, and in our recent time in 9/11, someone else, the Pharaoh that we cannot see on the media, it went in through it and came out to meet with God, or to be with God according to the pagan's belief system, 104. So now you understand why you had an actual 94, because it is the body leaving the soul, get in from our world, go to the other dimension which we cannot see, 104. You see the 104 floors from where it came, which is, though there is no 104 floor in the One World Trade Center, yet they label it the 94th floor as what? As 104, because you cannot see it. That's in the other dimension. That's the other depiction of the tree of life of the soul going to meet with the gods or to be among the gods. Now you will say, okay, you reach to the box 104, the other dimension, how he will meet with God. You see, the box, as he said, is equate to what? 42 plus what? 62. This is 62 coming from 15, 13, 16, 18. This is the box. So basically, you have a 104 is equate to 62 plus what? 42. 62 is actually the eye of Ra, the all-seeing eye. I have explained it in the other video. You can go to it. You can see the picture I show you here. It's actually from it, the Great Giza Pyramid has been built based upon. One World Trade Center is a modern one. It's a modern Great Giza Pyramid built to resurrect a soul of a pharaoh into becoming among the gods on the expense of the souls of their servant as they flee in 9/11. And so he reached the box. Okay, good. You say 42 is the pathway to reach to God. 62 is the eye of Ra. What's 72? 72 actually is the number of elevator that was commissioned at the time of the opening of the One World Trade Center. What is 71? What is the importance of 71? Remember, we talk about 86 useful floors and 78 floors for offices and 94 and 104 all coming from the Tree of Life? Yes, 71 number of elevator. It also has a symbology. It is the way elevator to take you to what? Up into heaven to meet with God. Now you will say, what's vision? You see, the paganists, they always believe that through the knowledge that God has given us, the only one God, the one true God, which actually took some of the prophets and like he took Jesus up in heaven, they think that through their satanic sacrifice ritual, when they please Satan, that Satan will take him up to heaven. But they are being fooled, and they will never. And I will tell you what's the response of Quran was to those pharaohs who died before and the one who was supposed to be resurrected in 2001, that they never attained to reach the dwelling of God. That all this sacrifice ritual, which God doesn't necessarily necessitate when he take his prophets and his servants, his good servants, while Satan asks people to kill, to sacrifice, so that they would take him up into their world, but they're actually nothing but they're fooling them. So 71, as I was saying, there is a verse in the Quran where God tells Prophet Muhammad that he showed him a vision in his journey to meet with God. Vision in Arabic abjad is equate to what? 71. And that's why they put 71 elevator at the commissioning of the One World Trade Center. So when you have 62, 71, 42, what it gave you what? 175. 175, if you remember, it is what? The Tree of Life. It's the flight number that hit WTC2 too. And it is the depiction of the resurrection of the Pharaoh up in heaven. When you sum the red, the green, and the purple, it's give you what? 175 equate to the Tree of Life. Now, what the Quran answer to those Satanists in our time and the pharaohs before us? Here's what the Quran verses are saying. Surah Al-Isra, the journey of the Prophet up in heaven. Verse number what? 42. 42, remember, the path to reach to God, 42. Say, O Muhammad, if there had been with him other gods, as they say, then they each would have sought to the honor of the throne away, which they never. And in another verse, God is talking to the pharaohs. Neither heaven nor earth wept over them, nor was their fate delayed. That was an answer to what the pharaohs used to write in their temples, where they say, the sky weeps, the stars shake, the keeper of the gods tremble, and their servants flee. 9/11, their servants flee. That's when it was his soul supposed to be resurrected, when they behold the king rising up as a spirit, as a god who lives in his fathers and possesses his mothers. That's what was all about 9/11. 9/11 was a sacrifice ritual. From the get-go, they opened the Twin Tower on a date. 28 years later, it was set to be demolished. So at the time of demolishing the 14, you have the 24, you have the 28 years later, the soul were supposed to leave from our universe, the actual 94 stories of One World Trade Center, to go into the other dimension, to be among gods according to the paganists. 14 years later, when they resurrected the One World Trade Center. So there you have it, people. The World Trade Center, the Twin Towers, from construction to demolition to reconstruction, as the New York Times say, the rebirth. The rebirth, the New York Times used the phrase, the rebirth of whom? The rebirth of that soul which we yet to discover. Who was that Satanist in whose honor all that was built? Where thousands of people were killed, where they sacrificed for him 65, 92, 64 people on 3 different airplanes, that each of these airplanes equate to one of the pillars in the tree of life, and where they tried to convince us that where there was 5 hijackers, where actually the 5 is equate to the number of the circle of each pillar. Spread the truth, people. Let the people know the Satanists among us. Make them stop. Make them stop, because they have been doing this sacrifice ritual since the written history as we know it. Go back to the history book. Until our day, they were doing it, but this is the only time ever we have an evidence of their satanic rituals that they have inflicting on our soul throughout the time. Make them stop. There is only one God, not Lucifer, that they worship in the lodges of the secret societies, which they know themselves, which most of them, they are being fooled by their supreme leaders, which they don't see. That's their teaching. That's what they are teaching you, people. They take in knowledge from God, talking about the creation and the universe, but instead they use it to sacrifice people and to take the promises of Lucifer, to take them up into the heavens, where they're not leading them but nothing to hell, fire, which they deserve very well. Peace and goodbye.